Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. The show is about to begin. Darren and Josh Make a Movie.
Hey everyone, we are back with another episode of, if we change it to Josh and Darren, or still Darren?
It's still Darren and Josh.
Darren, for some reason, Make a Movie. Before we introduce our guest, I cannot stop thinking about these ideas. I'm so torn between the privilege, and maybe we'll pitch Mike, our guest, later, but the privilege, and I don't think we've come up with a name for the Comic-Con one.
Nope, but
Untitled Bill Moseley film.
I will say that since the last episode drops, we've had a lot of people come on and leave comments about how much they love that idea. I actually got a phone call from one of my writing partners, this guy named Mike Lee, and he was like, that's a really good idea. And not only that, but he was talking about the thematics of it.
What idea are we talking about?
Your Comic-Con idea, the all of the serial killers, real serial killers. But he was saying one of the nice things about that is thematically, you're able to play with the idea that these actors are going to these cons. And
We're going to get back to that idea later. So we're going to pitch it to Mike.
Okay, good. I like that. All right, I like it.
So we are here with a friend, someone that I've known now going on, I guess, 2 decades, ever since I've been in LA. Mr. Mike Mendez. Mike Mendez.
Hey, everyone.
Mike Mendez and I did an anthology film together. When was that? Like 4 years ago?
Yeah, it was 2015, something like that. It was shot in this neighborhood.
We all had budgets, and we were given like a very modest budget to make this like 7 or 8 minute short thing.
Right.
Laura was very pregnant, and I said, I'll only do it if I can shoot it in my neighborhood on my street. And so we had to have like, I was the one episode where you guys had to police cars like shutting down things.
That's crazy. You're bringing me back to the fact that Laura was so pregnant that there was a chance that she might give birth during production. I remember now, I totally forgot about this. He would ask like, one of you guys might have to direct if I have to go to the hospital. And we were prepared to do it, but that was really, we were kind of close on that.
In fairness to me, I had just gotten back from being gone for 4 months on another film called Abattoir. So I think I drove in, it was like 3 days later, and we shot it. And I think mine may have ballooned 5 times everyone else's budget. And I remember I showed up one day and there was like, I saw 4 police officers all like locking, no one else had police officers locking down the street.
Yeah.
You have a shot on this neighborhood.
I just remember wondering like where are all these extras coming from? I don't remember approving any of that. Wow, they must have really pulled a lot of favors. So then the bill came later, and okay.
So did he take some of your budget from your underwear?
He just, did things, and then we'd get a bill for them later.
Such as I went to our next door neighbor's house and I said, listen, we're going to just film something very small out here. And she was like, oh, okay, I guess that's fine. And then we let her yard on fire. And I remember the AD comes running up and he goes, did you clear letting her yard on fire with her? And I said, no, but I'm sure she's right with it.
And then there were ones that were just absolutely not our fault. Like we had to spray paint a garage, and we just used like hair dye, thinking it would not be a big deal. And then we did it, and I never saw it. As far as I know, it came out, but the neighbor was like, it's permanently damaged. You got to repaint my entire door. So it was like $1,000 to repaint the door or something like that. It was, I forgot what it was. But
yeah, it's down the street. We pass that house all the time, and
the door looks great.
It looks great now. It's repainted it. But mine starred Barry Bostwick, and it was he played the devil, and he was great. However, I think my favorite 2 was yours and Dave Parker's. I think were the best 2 of them. Mike did one that Mike pitch it, because then you're going to see it. And Google was
the Friday the 31st, and it was basically kind of like what is Halloween like for somebody like Jason. And what would happen if perhaps basically it was like sort of like Evil Dead versus Friday the 13th kind of thing. It was like if you came across a deadite, and this time it was an alien that came down, and they kind of reanimated the dead, and Jason fought a deadite basically.
I love that. That's awesome. That's awesome.
It was a lot of fun. But the whole project was fun, and it's still kind of a perennial favorite. And that's how I know that a movie's doing well, is that I get the Google notifications, or you get an uptick in reviews on Letterboxd or whatever every Halloween. And
what's cool is that we recently, I mean, this isn't cool, and I'm going to say it's very sad, but Lalo Schifrin just passed.
Yeah,
and the amazing Lalo Schifrin, who has done, I mean, countless amazing, iconic scores Did the Mission Impossible, but didn't he also do the Dirty Harrys?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what was fun is that, he had not recorded anything in years professionally. And he was so used to doing his ways as he did it in the 50s and 60s that he wrote everything on paper. So what he gave us was a stack of paper, of which us who don't read music or anything, were just like, what do we do with this? and it was like deciphering this great mystery, is that we had to find musicians and hire musicians and like piece together what this was.
I want to say what's cool, kind of about Hollywood that people might not know is that there's a very tight knit community of people that have been friends and stay friends and collaborate with each other. And a long time ago, and I'm holding alcohol. So let me just put this down really quick in my glass. Anyone else, please. I'm not going to assume that you guys are going to drink with me at noon. But there was a community, maybe 22, 25 years ago that was known as the Fright Club. And every Friday, Saturday night, at least once a month, there would always be a horror film releasing, and we'd all get together, whether it's the Chinese theater, and everyone showed up to these things. And that kind of ballooned into Mick Garris's thing that he did, which is Mass Horror Dinner, where any given night you get a call from Mick Garris and said, show up to the Hamburger Hamlet or wherever the secret location was, and you show up and it's these insane horror filmmakers. But everyone kind of stayed friends. And so when Mike and Axel, the other producer, made this kind of anthology, it was all of these friends that hung out with each other and knew each other well.
I love it.
And I don't think you see that a lot.
The horror community is very friendly and it's very wonderful, and that's something that I look, I'm not a comedian, so I don't know what it's like in the comedy industry, but I always feel that it's a little more cutthroat. It's a little more shit talky.
Yep.
Like, we support each other because I think, horror filmmakers are always kind of identify themselves as underdogs, and horror is kind of like the underdog genre. So we all support each other, and so the friendships are real and they have lasted, over 2 decades. I'd say, at least for myself, I think 2006, where I really started befriending a lot of the guys.
Yeah.
But most of them are still dear friends to this day. So.
And who's like a legend that showed up to one of those things?
Well, it depends. If you're the Masters of Horror Dinner is a beast upon itself.
Sure.
And I remember the first one that I went to, which was insane, is that I walked in and I get the phone call from Eli Roth it wasn't even Mick. It was like, hey, we want you to come to this thing. You have to come alone. And I remember when I showed up, it was like the heyday. It was Guillermo del Toro. It was Quentin Tarantino, but it was Wes Craven. And I was like, oh my God. And so,
it's like my dream dinner.
there's always, whoever's in town usually shows up. And so you never know who you're going to get. And I'm going to hate myself. And I'm going to put my voice in as if I remember this at the time. I'm completely blanking on his name. He's one of my favorite films was Altered States and Tommy. What's his name? The director.
Director of Altered States?
Altered States, Tommy, The Devils.
Right. Oh my God. Jesus Christ.
Addison, you'll just put this on.
Just put it. Yeah, you'll put it on screen and you'll put his name over it. Ken Russell, that's his name. Ken Russell. Altered States is one of my, and Tommy. I mean, I'm a musical lover. And I remember sitting next to him and I was like, I had John McNaughton to the right of me, and John McNaughton, Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer. Maybe someone's son is named Henry.
The difference was the Masters of Horror was kind of the established legends.
Yeah.
And Fright Club was the newbies coming in.
We started off in the Fright Club and then we ascended to
horror, yes.
But in fairness, I just was the busboy. I would just go get the plate for myself. So Mike is here because Mike is as a filmmaker. I'm very proud of my cult films, but Mike Mendez has his cult films that he's quite known for. From Big Ass Spider to, we just realized that I have a framed photo back here for Fangoria, and Mike is in that, and actually above mine. Mike's actually on the top left. I'm kind of down further. What was that for? Gravedancers, yeah. Gravedancers. What do you think, and what do you get people talk to you about the most? I still haven't seen Killers,
which I think that's part of one of the things that I enjoy about my career is that everybody knows me for slightly different things, because it's like a lot of people know me for The Convent. A lot of people know me for Big Ass Spider, certainly the anthology films. I have my own little subculture of stop animation films I did on YouTube. The one thing I do that I don't get any credit for that I wish I got more for is my work on Beavis and Butt-Head. But
I want to talk about that. That is
something that's a weird one because I feel I put a lot into it.
When I was doing a little bit of research about you, also when we knew we were going to talk, your IMDb page has a lot of editing credits along with your directing credit.
Yeah.
And I'm really curious to know, as a editor, director, writer, editor, director, are there things that the editor has saved the director on?
Yeah,
For shows
I mean,
that worked on?
I started making movies when I was like a child, like 10 years old, and something like that with video cameras. And one of the things starting early, besides video cameras, you use Super 8 films, you use 16 millimeter films or whatever. And I think the thing is now, we're all spoiled. We have a movie studio in our pocket. We have an iPhone and we can make a movie, with anything. But back then you had to really measure what you were shooting because every bit of film costs you money and it costs you money to develop. So you had to know what you needed. And so that always kind of started me off on something that, before I even knew Hitchcock used to do this, it would make me storyboard everything because it's like I needed to know what shot I needed because, again, I could only, have 3 minutes of film that I could afford or whatever. And and I think at the time it was like $8 for a Super 8, like $8 a cartridge at about $8 or $10 to
develop. Yeah.
So you're a kid, you're 12, you're 13. I mean, $20 a reel for 3 minutes of film's a lot,
Yeah.
So, you were very deliberate about what you shot. So when I became an editor, which really was a product of, I got my first 2 films in Sundance, got a agent who's now WME, who's still my agent, thought, oh man, I've made it, but didn't realize that, often happens. And then these things kind of slip away. And it was the harsh reality that I realized that I can't make a living just directing as much as I would like to.
Yeah.
That was not in the cards for me after my second film. And so that's where I realized that perhaps editing was something that I still could be creative, still could exercise the filmmaking muscle and get paid for it. And I always tell people is that, I make my living editing and I go broke directing films. And that's kind of the ebb and flow of my life.
Dude, I have the exact same experience with screenwriting where, I would love nothing more than to be a full-time director, but I spend 9 months and at one point we had to sell our house because I couldn't pay mortgage anymore because I had directed 2 movies in a row.
Right.
And I made,
We'll do it.
I made, I think I checked it. I think it's okay.
Okay.
Sorry. Yeah. So I made no money for 2 years, had to sell my house. And so it's always this catch-22 about if I'm offered a directing job, because usually they're very low budget.
Yeah.
And I'm getting paid a bunch of money to be a screenwriter. So it's a hard balance to do. But
well, absolutely. Yeah. No, I realized it around 2006, and I've had, for better or worse, always independent films. So it's not like, there's always the dream of like, oh, I get that big paycheck one day. So, so it really is this kind of like, what these things pay, especially back 20 years ago, it was, $25,000 to direct a film, something like that. And, that'll last your life. Yeah, that'll last you, the length of time to shoot the movie.
Well, that's the thing that I still struggle with, it's so hard to explain to my parents or anyone in my family, is that when you're on a movie, like the case, we just turned in this movie with Lauren Lavera yesterday, was the first day that Paramount received it. That was 2 years of my life. It was 2 years.
Right.
And I was unable to take another movie during that time. You're usually non-exclusive until you start prep, and then you're exclusive until you turn the movie in. So that could be anywhere from 9 months to a year and a half. And so you hear this number, and I'm going to make a number up right now. I'm going to say $100,000. So let's say your number is $100,000. You know that you're going to lose 25% of that right off the bat. Managers, agents, lawyers, DGA fringe, you're losing that. Then you're also going to lose whatever taxes are. And then you're working around the clock on what is left of this money for a year and a half doing it. It's hard. It is hard to make a living. And I've made 18 films now. I've had hits, I've had misses, and it's still hard about, having to sell our house to be able to make mortgage. Yeah. And also, as I think we've gotten older and time has passed, the director's fees and the fees all across have gone down, and down because
of the budgets. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I think also the barrier to entry is so low now that now it used to be I was somebody because I made a movie. Now anyone can make a movie. Anyone has a studio in their pocket.
Right.
So now I'm competing with a million other people, as opposed to before I was competing with 10,000 people.
Yeah.
Now, it has become this struggle. You've though, I go back to the thing cult. My favorite kind of cult fandom of yours, people probably don't even put your DNA or fingerprint on. They don't associate you with it. And it was only recently that I learned about it, was your Beavis and Butt-Head.
Oh, right.
Can you explain? Because to me, that's just fascinating, because to me, it is so much of what Beavis and Butt-Head is.
So, no, I mean, I feel I have one of the best jobs in the world, but it's one of those things that nobody is even aware that it's on the air, or I shouldn't say nobody's on the air. Most people are unaware that it's even airing right now, and they don't understand what I do because they just think like, oh, you edit cartoons, but it's like, no. I do something that I love doing, that I've been doing since 2011, and I owe it because of my films. Is how I got it. So in 2011, Beavis and Butt-Head came back for one season on MTV because it had run 9 seasons or 8 seasons on MTV in the 90s, and then it came back for 2011 as a reboot. And it was wonderful. It was great. Mike Judge came back. He was the showrunner, and they couldn't find an editor to do the music videos where they make fun of the music videos, right? Because, they had animation editors, and the animation editors would have to go, and you have to have a sense of humor. It's really what the job requirement is you just have to have a good sense of humor that's in line with Mike Judge. And so the post-production supervisor was a gentleman named Robert Parigi, who was a fan of The Convent. And he was like, I know this sounds really crazy, and I'm kind of sticking my neck out here for you, but I thought, we've been through about 4 or 5 editors. He's unhappy with them. Everybody wants to do the job because it's the fun job. But I just was watching The Convent, and I kind of thought you have a weird, quirky timing thing that might work with Mike Judge. And it was just a total, yeah, sure. What the fuck? Yeah, I love Beavis and Butt-Head. Let's do it. But I went in there, and for whatever reason, it just clicked. It just works.
That's awesome.
And since 2011, there was that one season, 2011, and then MTV decided it's too expensive. We'd rather do 16 and Pregnant, 10 seasons of that. It was, cost one season of Beavis and Butt-Head, so they canceled it in all their logic. But then during the pandemic in 2020, Paramount Plus, there was all that time where they were getting all that talent and getting all those things. Yeah. One of the things, they made a deal with Mike Judge for a new movie, Beavis and Butt-Head Do the Universe, and 2 seasons of a show. So I wrote Mike Judge an email. I'm like, hey, it'd be really, especially because, there was the pandemic, no one was working. Yeah, he's really going through a rough time. And I'm like, man, I'd really love to have my old job back. And he was like, sure, yeah, we'd love to have you. And so the first thing I did was Beavis and Butt-Head Do the Universe. I did the dialogue editing, which is not anything I've really done before, but was kind of interesting, because you're just taking the recording and kind of doing a radio edit of the movie in your head with sound effects and things like that, just for them for timing to animate. So that was fun, but that's a little creative, but not really. What I enjoy doing, and then finally when we got to the show, I got to go back to it, is now we look at TikTok videos, we look at YouTube videos, we look at music videos, and they record tons of shit of making fun of it. And then it's up to me to kind of take what they record, edit the video, and I look at it as I'm making a 2.5-minute short movie every time, because the animation's always going to be different. Beavis and Butt-Head are always going to be doing different things. They give me a litany of jokes, and I, just kind of find what I find is funny, and then I present it to them, and we have some laughs. Sometimes they don't work. Oh, let's re-record some stuff, blah blah blah, and we go back and forth. But to this day, and now we're about to, I can't say exactly when, but we're about to premiere season 3 in the very near future. And with the exception of only a couple of videos, I've done all of the videos where they make fun of stuff now. We're now on season 4, so
that's amazing.
Before, so yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, it's a wonderful job. Because I work with very talented people, and the thing that I think the most daunting thing is you work with someone like Mike Judge and the showrunners and the writers and stuff, and they're just so quick, they're just so funny. I can't do what they can do, but I can certainly take what they do and tell them what's funny. It's like, all right, this sucks, but this is good. This is good. And so so that's a real joy for me, because it is creative, it is fun, it is a union job, it's animation, so it's on the low end of union jobs, but whatever. it allows me to have healthcare insurance, and I was doing Satanic Hispanics while I was doing season 2 of Beavis and Butt-Head. So it's a challenge, but my plate is always full, which is
Yeah.
so yeah.
That's amazing. So look, this show that we are trying to make a movie. That was the ultimate goal of the podcast. But it's also to help people kind of get a more realistic viewpoint of Hollywood, of filmmaking, and all that kind of stuff. I was reading something about one of your projects. I don't remember which film it was, but you were very frustrated that it got kind of taken over. I think in the thing that I had read, you had even said like they put on this shitty score on film and like all of that.
So these the powers that be, we'll call them, threatened to sue me because they put something in their contract I've never seen before, that it says I need their express permission to speak about this film, which I've never seen that before. But when I started saying what a piece of shit I think it is, they made me aware of, you can't really talk about the movie,
right,
but you can ask me about the film The Last Heist, and I will happily answer.
Wait, which one was The Last Heist? I don't even know if I've seen that.
I didn't say you have it because I don't talk about it. Because
It's not the Dolph Lundgren.
no, it's a Henry Rollins movie.
Oh, I do remember that. I remember that when it was happening. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I don't talk about that one because
no, these are good
fine.
because we all have embarrassing movies we've made. I mean, I have quite a few, but
well, this one is the one that I mean, I have a few that I genuinely wish was not on my IMDb, and what this was.
when was the point that you realized it was going wrong?
We had a great time shooting it. I felt I was doing them a favor. I knew one of the producers on it, and I'd had a long history with them, and the budget of the movie was $150,000, the smallest movie I've ever done in my life, even smaller than my first movie, which we did on credit cards. But it was in between, I think, a movie I'd done for Sci-Fi Channel. We were about to do Don't Kill It, and I had a little period of time that it was free. And the script was something that genuinely interested me, which was the idea of a serial killer inside a bank heist, because I love John heists, and I think that's cool. And they had Henry Rollins as a serial killer. And I'm like, I can do this. I can make something fun of this. But I warned them at the beginning, look, there's no money to do anything. This has to be so fucking violent and extreme that it's the only edge that I have, is that it's got to be super violent. So I'm warning you up front. It's going to be super bloody. I don't care. And blah, blah, blah. And I should have quit when they told me they couldn't get a bank for the bank heist movie. And told me I had to use a warehouse. And that was the day I really regret that I should have quit. We did it in 15 days. It was one location. I played cops and robbers with friends, and we had a good time doing it. And I think somewhere in there, it'd have to be a short film, not going to be 90 minutes, but I think there's a fairly entertaining movie that could have come out of that. And so I think that to me is very frustrating, that it is my only movie with like a 0 on Rotten Tomatoes or like a 20.
No, we had this ongoing thing about who has the worst Rotten Tomato score, and so did you figure out who won it? Did you win or did I win?
I've got lower than you. You had a 6 and I had a 5. But my new movie, who knows?
I think someone, I don't know who they bribed, gave it a good review, so I think we somehow got to a 20 or something like that. You can check it. I'm sure it's very low.
Honestly, put it up on the screen here. Let's put all 3. Let's put Good Luck Shop, 11, 11, 11, and what's it called? The Last Heist? I want to find some ice and
it serves the Rotten Tomato score that it has. I've never seen it. I couldn't bother watching it because basically what happened is that as I submitted a cut, and I'd never had this happen, especially as an editor, especially being the lowest budget movie. The powers that be decided to, on such a low budget movie, to take it over, and they just took it and re-edited it and took out all the violence and put the shitty score on and made a movie that's unrecognizable to me. And that's why I never watch it. It's just in the first 10 minutes, there is easily 60 choices I would not have made.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have done the credits. I wouldn't have said that music. I wouldn't have started with that shot. I wouldn't have held it that long. It's just like there's 60 things. And it's amazing how quickly what your vision, what you're trying to do can be derailed. All it takes is the wrong song.
Yes. And one of my problems is that the films that I direct are so small that I'm also not in the I'm not in the DGA. So I've directed 7 films. None of them have been DGA. So you have no control. You have no power. Sometimes I get lucky and I'm on with somebody that is respectful and is very, very passionate about letting me find the story, find the voice, find the cut. And then sometimes it gets taken over and there's nothing you can do.
Yeah. Totally.
Well, I don't know if the ODs were taken over, but I have two points to the story, and I'm always going to go back to 11/11 because I think you know Jeremy Kasdan, right? Yeah. So when I left to go to the Barons, 11/11 sold, and it went to a production company, and they said just make a few trims. And I met with the editor they wanted to use, this guy Jeremy Kasdan. I liked his movie. He had a movie. I thought it was right. She was right. Yeah. And then when I came and saw the film at the mix stage, and I was flown in, so I was shooting the Barons. I flew in to see it, and it was so. Within the very first moment, I got sick. Yeah. And I was like,
it's a horrible feeling, right?
It is, because the thing is that we've talked about this, you don't have a podcast at the moment of film's release to explain what it has to exist. And I heard Guillermo del Toro say this. I like how when you say Guillermo del Toro made a small film, they talk about like Shape of Water or whatever in the small film. I was like, more money, they're all my movies combined. Right. But they ask him do you think the audience forgives with a budget? And he said something, I can butcher it, but he said, no, they come to be entertained. They don't care what your budget is. They don't care. They want to be entertained. That's for you to worry about. Yeah. And the thing is, you can't explain to an audience, wait, that's not me. I didn't do that.
Yeah. The only way you can explain it is by not promoting it and taking and stepping as far away back from it as I can, which is all I can do.
Well, and that's the thing is I feel bad in retrospect because I loved everyone that worked on it. And I think Jeremy Kasdan was great. Kasdan, was a great guy. And I think that what happened was that I am a fucking bull and I will go toe to toe. I mean, the last episode I talked about wanting to fist fight a studio exec. I will fight, but if I'm not there to fight and I don't have a voice in the room, and it's not going to come from the editor, it's not going to come from the assistant, there's no one there, and then it becomes a mishmash stew where there is no voice, there is no taste. Yeah. It just gets watered down. Yeah. And that's, I think, what happened on that film is that I was coming off of Saw and Repo. And 11/11 was my Polanski, The Tenant, Rosemary's Baby. It was slow, and it was ungodly slow. It was like long dolly shots, and they're like, no, let's add some flash frames, let's add some loud music. And when I saw it, and like for example, you would see I just rewatched it recently. You'd see the shot where the idea was there's a scene in Exorcist 3. And anyone that knows Exorcist 3, it's got one of the best jump scares in the world. There you're staring at a nurse's station and it's slowly going. And you're like, come on, what's going to happen? All of a sudden, and then it comes through with the gardening shears.
We'll throw that up on the screen for you.
I had, that was kind of my vision for this movie. But when I saw it, they didn't linger on anything. Cut. And it took away, it was, you called like the balls. Like, what is that thing? And so in yours, it was the violence. Right. Mine was, I'm going from bombastic editing in the Saw movies and Repo to this very slow, methodical, and it got gone. All of it's gone. Right. And I remember in the month that it came out, and it was Lynn Shay. I'll never forget this. There was a premiere of the movie, and at that point, I still don't know if I realized how just terrible it was. And I remember that we had a premiere of the movie, and at the very end, we all went to a bar. You might have even been at it. It was. And I remember Lynn Shay walks up to me, and normally like, oh, dude, she goes, you'll get him next time. I love it.
You know what? You need those people around you. Like, you're one of those people that just are a straight shooter. You tell the person the thing. The worst part is when you make that film and you know it sucks, and then people start coming up and say, "Really great job. It was so good."
I'll interrupt them and correct.
Mike just stopped me. Mike's like, "Yeah, not for me, Darren. That one, not mine."
Yeah, like that. It doesn't happen often, but every once in a blue moon, someone will go like, "I love The Last Heist," and I'm like, "No, you don't. That's a piece of shit." Like, and then there's people who do that as well. I remember meeting oh my god, I'm tired of them blanking on names. The director of the Last Boy Scout and Shane Black. I remember meeting him and telling him how I much love the Predator. And he was like, "What? Yeah, it's a piece of shit, man." He was like, "That movie was a piece of shit. The studio cut it. They cut out all the funny lines. They reshot the fucking thing. It was a piece of crap." And then he like literally just ran into traffic. It was really weird. Do you know the early no car hit?
This is a question for you as a filmmaker that I've always wondered. I would say that in my career, I have a 60% through ratio where it's 60% my vision and there's 40% of it that's not, that it's like a bad exec note. And that 60% is good because some filmmakers don't get 60%.
Right.
And I think it was James Wan who said this, and I'm going to misquote everyone, Guillermo, James Wan, but he said, it's like, it's making a good movie in spite of all the notes. And
Yes, yeah, totally.
but I rewatched 11/11 recently, and I was like, God damn it, the acting's good. It looks beautiful. That's not my vision of it. I want the footage back. And I went down a path for about a month with my representatives, going to Epic Pictures, going to the production company who bought the film and released it. I want the footage back. I want the dailies back. I want to re-edit the movie.
Right.
I want to put it back out the way that I originally intended it.
Yeah.
Now, it might get a worse Rotten Tomato. It might go down to a 0. But I want to feel yours.
Look, I wish I could do the same thing on that movie. The difference is that on, you know, the Henry Rollins movie, which I feel horrible because Henry was wonderful. The cast was wonderful. Everyone, I feel I owe.
Was Christian Kleben that?
Yeah. I feel I owe them all an apology because, you know, like they trusted me and I, you know, like I'm going to get it there, but I didn't expect that, you know, to kind of get bamboozled at the end. But I feel the same way. It's like I would love to cut my 70-minute version of the movie because that was part of the problem is that it needed to be a 90-minute film. And it's like in 15 days, I can give you an entertaining 70 minutes or I can give you a slog 90-minute cut or whatever. So I think I had handed in like an 84-minute cut or whatever. And of course, how dare you? It's got to be a 90-minute film and all that kind of shit. So, but I think I would... pretty sure I could make a pretty entertaining 75-80-minute movie of The Last Heist, but you know, they'd have to get back and I don't want to deal with those producers again.
Yeah.
And again, on the thought of, and I won't say who it was, maybe it was the distributor, maybe it was the head of the production company, maybe it was produced.
We're going to put the real name going on the screen right now.
I'm not saying who it was, but the powers to be. The only fucking solace that I got, as much as my manager got mad at me and stuff like that, is that I got to give them a peace of mind. I got to tell them, you are the most talentless sacks of shit I have ever worked with. And I fucking hate what you did to this movie. It is a piece of shit. And I have to work really fucking hard to get the egg off my face because I have my name on this shit that you made.
I mean, I'm really impressed that you're able to do that. One of my problems with what you're saying is typically as a director, you can't come out like that for two reasons. One is it's a little bit bad form, but you're telegraphing to your future producers and future studios that you're the kind of guy that will fucking throw a movie bus.
Fuck that.
Like, look at Eli Roth. Eli Roth made the film Badlands. Last year. Badlands, Badlands, whatever. Yeah,
but it's
the video. Yeah, but
right.
It's, I mean, he kind of tiptoes around it. I've heard him talk about it and say, yeah, well, you know, things change. But like, he still has to stand up there and take the interviews and do the press tour and say, I'm so happy about this film.
Like Suicide Squad, you know, trying to do that.
I tell you one of the biggest frustrations, and now maybe it's because I'm drinking at 11 o'clock in the morning, that I'm just, one of the things that I have a hard time with, and I think that I cannot stand by and allow people to, what I consider, disrespect me or my family. And disrespecting me or my family is taking food out of our mouths and money off of which should be mine. And so, like right now, as a perfect example, is that I have 2 projects that I'm late on being paid. And when I mean late, I mean one of them is 9 months.
Oh, geez.
And when I'm like, what the fuck? My agent's like, don't be that guy, Darren. Don't be that guy. And I'm like, don't be that fucking guy. Like, that was 9 months ago. They have the project. They have the thing. Pay me my fucking money. And I keep getting, Darren, you're acting irrational right now. And I'm like, irrational. I think I have fucking bills. They're like, I don't. And the same thing when it comes to movies is that if my movie fails, that 90% of the people involved can wipe their hands of it and push and say, point to me. And because success has many fathers, failure has one. And they will say, Darren, you know, he was crazy, he was whatever. But what they don't see is all the times when I'm like, guys, this is a terrible choice. Don't put that music there. Yeah. Don't put that product placement there. Don't have him. What's that edit? Don't do that.
Yeah.
I'm supposed to stand by. So it's hard because I have a hard time towing that party line of being like, that is my version of the movie. That is my vision. Spiral, perfect example. There was so much in Spiral that I think would have elevated that film and made the film better. And you saw the battles that we were losing in there. And I was like, guys, you're making a mistake. This is not what the fandom wants to see. And then the movie comes out and I have to sit there and smile. I have to be like, yeah, you know, I meant to. That was great. And then I get Chris Rock calling me, like, what happened to that fucking scene? And like, I have to I have a hard time with the egg on my face thing because
Yeah, it's embarrassing.
they get to go on and make other films, but when I go and make another film,
Right, yeah.
people are gonna look at Spiral and they're gonna say, "Well, did Spiral work? Is Chris Rock want to work with me again?" He's gonna look at that. And you're right. You have a tremendous amount of responsibility to everyone that comes to work with you. Samuel L. Jackson, Chris Rock, all these people, they are putting their pedigree in my hands, and I am supposed to protect it.
Yeah.
And the reality is, I am not James Wan or Steven Spielberg or whoever else. I don't get final cut. And so it is a hard thing at the very end of the day when I get to sit back and I have to sit in a theater with someone and I can see Mike Mendez or Adam Girash kind of being like, "Oh,
Right, well, sure. Yeah.
and I'm like, I agree,
Yeah.
but I can't say that." And I think that to me is so hard.
I think self-awareness is a huge part of it because there's certain people you can't mouth off to or it's not. And I've done it. You know, I've certainly done things that I regret or said things that I regret on Twitter or whatever that is just like, I probably shouldn't have said that or whatever. But then there are sometimes, like the case of this movie, that you know, you feel, it's your baby, like no matter what, like even though like I didn't write the script or whatever, you're committing your time. I put money into the movie, like, because this is how shitty these powers that be were, that we could have gotten I rented a Steadicam because we needed a Steadicam. And we needed an extra camera for that Steadicam, and we needed $80 to get that extra camera, $80.
Yeah.
They said no. They said, well, we have a camera. I'm like, I understand, but it's going to take like 40 minutes to, change that and put that, and we're going to lose that much of the day, and then we got to move it back. And they're like, no, we're not doing it. So the DP paid $80. I paid the Steadicam. He paid the $80.
Yeah.
I put another like $5,000 on just, masks and props and things just to make it look good. You put so much time, so much effort storyboarding and trying to make it work.
Yeah.
You pulling favors, doing whatever. And then, these assholes just have the complete disrespect to go like, I've been in the movie business a little bit. I know what I'm doing. I'm just going to take what you're doing and I'm going to do whatever I want to it.
Yeah.
And that kind of thing is just like, it's so fucking.
Yeah, it's the fingerprint effect. And I think that so many people want to put their fingerprint on a movie. They want to be able to say to their girlfriend or their husband or whoever, I did that. I saved this. I fixed this.
Right.
So by the time, usually as a filmmaker, at least for me, I've always had 95% of the time a good experience on set. I have a good experience up until the edit is finished. And then it's when the edit is finished that all of a sudden it goes into the factory.
Yeah.
And that's where you have to fight to get that 60% good vision of what you originally had.
Sure.
And I think to me, that's the hardest thing. And I'll tell you, in the film I just had with Lauren, Monster, Twisted, one of the big fights was music. I originally, it's kind of a lesbian crime drama. I wanted an all-female soundtrack, and I wanted it to be very female-based. And one of the first notes I got back is no, we want some more intense music, some more horror-based music. We want to put some, and the names that were coming back were male singers. And I was like, guys, you're missing the point. This is supposed to be a female thing, female empowerment. And then music, for example, is so subjective. I was getting notes back about, we don't like this song. And I'm like, that's great. You don't like the song. I love this song. Right, I think this song is the movie. This song is what it is. And so these changes start to happen, and it's never one note. It's never that change that song. It's 1,000 notes, and it's death by 1,000 cuts.
Yeah. Yeah.
And to me, that's what
I think a lot of it depends on who you work with, though, and a lot of it depends on budgets. And for whatever it's worth, that's part of the reason that I made so many films with Epic Pictures is that they are, for better or worse, that they are the one people who have left me alone. Like, they don't tell me what to do. They like, here you go. They trust me. I've made money for them, both with Big Ass Spider and Tales of Halloween. Not that we made money, but they've done okay. So they've always been very good about like, hey, if you believe in it, we'll trust you. I don't know how they feel that way after Satanic Hispanics didn't quite perform so well. So maybe that goodwill is be taken away a little bit, but they've always been great. But the thing is that I got to keep it at a super low budget, and it's not, I'm not getting millions to do it. I'm getting hundreds of thousands to do it. And, but with that being said, yeah, having your freedom and we talk about, I'm going to say a terrible word here, AI, and how people are saying it's uncreative to use it or whatever. But it's like, I'm screwing around on a couple things on pitches and stuff like that, not in the finished movies, but just as previs and stuff like that. And I'm having a great time creatively doing that because, it is so unfun to have a group of people tell you, no, change that music. You're wrong. We don't want that. Change that actor. Change it, because, and I'll use the example of Gravedancers, which, I have mixed feelings about. There's a lot of stuff that I like about it. There's a lot of stuff I don't, but I had exactly what you're talking about the whole group of producers that second guessed every casting choice, every choice. And at some point you realize you're not really making the movie you want to make. You're making the movie that is giving you the least path of resistance so that you're not constantly fighting.
I have two films of mine that I think have singular visions that I can say is more me than any film. Mother's Day and Repo. Repo is probably the most me film, and I would say it's 80% of what we set out to do. And I think partially is because I put a lot of money into it, so they couldn't really say no to me on that. Mother's Day, I think that Brett Ratner produced it. He was kind of off doing his own shit, so he really didn't care. And I think people were scared of me on that movie, so they just kind of left me alone. And I think those two movies. Then I have a lot of movies that there are parts of me in them. You can look at it, Abattoir. My favorite part of Abattoir is still there, which is the weird aesthetic, the 1950s aesthetic. But then there's so much of me that's not in it. One of the things, Josh, if you and I making our movies, I almost want to mandate when we go pitch it, is that we are going to make a very specific movie for a very specific audience. And it's important at the onset that you're on board with that. Because I think that so many people are scared of risk. They're risk averse. Because what is job security? Job security is being right down the middle. It is not doing anything that's going to tip the scales. It's knowing that when you wake up tomorrow, you're still going to have a job. So you don't want to take the risks. So if there is something that is risky, they're going to push back from it. And I think that's where good art is made, is being risky.
Yeah, that's smart.
Yeah. So by the way, this is my gut pillow. I put it here to block my gut. So hopefully, but like in the podcast, like in episode 54, hopefully there's no gut pillow, right? And no hat. So my hair will have grown back and they'll be. Mike, one of the big things that Josh and I are doing, and we've been kind of racking our brain and trying to figure out, is we have a couple of ideas of movies that we think we want to make. We'll tell you about them in a minute. But one of the things is that finding financing is one of the hardest things. And there's numerous routes to go. There's the most traditional route that I've seen, which is the foreign sales component, which is you attach a director, you get a script, you get a producer, and then you try to get cast, and you go to Cannes or a market, and you try to sell it in advance to figure out if you can get enough money to make the movie.
And each country might offer you a different amount of money. So Latvia might say, okay, we'll give you $5,000 for the rights. And then Spain might say, we'll give you $50,000 for the rights.
So it's a mathematical formula. Everyone has a value. So Darren's value after coming off Saw 2 is a lot bigger than Darren's value coming off of 11/11. So you look at Darren Saw 2 is worth X amount. But if my next movie's budget is $10 million, and let's say I'm worth $1 million, there's a $9 million risk. So they try to mitigate the risk and say, what actor can we put in his next movie? We can put this actor and he's worth $3 million. Now the risk is only $6 million. So the whole thing is a mathematical formula. That's one way to get the movie made. Private equity is another way. Going to a studio that is a different way. I've pretty much only found success in the outside of the Saw movies. It's going outside of Hollywood, doing it in very unconventional ways. I usually put together pitch decks. I'll put together animatics, and I will make this kind of really visual, crazy presentation. What is your method when you're trying to go raise financing, when you're trying to go sell something?
Everything is different, of course, and I've tried all sorts of different things. My first movie was all credit cards and loans and doing it ourselves. Sometimes being the rarer situation, you get offered a job, you have something that gets a little bit of notice, i.e. Big Ass Spider, maybe my first film. The second film usually comes to you after something like that. It's not what you want to do usually, but it's what's available. But when I'm doing my own stuff, I have a couple of rules of thumbs. A, try to keep it as small as possible. That's just, easy indie filmmaking 101, as far as like we talk about that $10 million risk. Can you make it a $3 million risk? And therefore it's that much more attainable. I'm cursed to be in the under $1 million mark, which I don't love being in, but that does make it easier. I had a lot of luck. I'll start with the boring ones first. I had a lot of luck with anthology films because we could attach talent. We had Neil Marshall, we had Darren Bousman, we had folks for Tales of Halloween, and it was an idea. Satanic Hispanics, similarly, we had Demian Rudna, who just did When Evil Lurks, and Alejandro Burgues and Gigi Guerrero. So we had like all the Latino things, and we had a certain market that we were going for. It failed, but we tried at least. So then we get into the harder ones, and I'm going to use Gravedancers as an example because that was probably one of probably the hardest movie I've ever had to get made. Is it went through so many incarnations that I'll try to make it fast. So I found this script that was had been optioned by Addison Entertainment, if you remember them. They that's the Blair Witch Project, and the option had expired, and it was so I looked at it as kind of like a damaged Hollywood script. You know, that was like, oh, when did the system it went developed, but now nobody's making it. I think it's really good, so we optioned it. And I forget how it came about, but one of the first people that was interested was this company, Maverick Films, which was Madonna's company. It was Guy Oseary and Madonna's thing. And they, at the time, had this deal to make, to release $15 million movies. Like Maverick would get an independent financer and it would, Fox would distribute it. And they picked up Gravedancers. And for a minute there, oh my God, all your dreams have come true. I'm making a big, Hollywood studio film with Madonna. Yeah, we're awesome. And then, the executive at Fox saw the content of my previous film and said, we're not giving this guy $15 million. Are you crazy? He's fired. And it was a movie that I had developed and I had found. So that was probably the most depressing day of my life still. He had a guy who was in bed for 2 days straight. And wondering what I was going to do with my life. And then, then you get that kind of like, I'm not giving up. I'm not stopping. Yeah. And what do I always do? I make films. And so I started a thing then. And thankfully we had a producer that, so a lot of money even back then, had some deep pockets. And so he put up $50,000 so I could make a trailer. And this is before digital. So this is 35 millimeter. We made a trailer on 35 millimeter. Right. And we showed those Fox people a figure two. And they said, you know what? This is really impressive. He's got the job again. So I got my job back. I said, now we're like, yeah, we're doing it $15 million. Maverick's paid for it. Fox is going through. And Maverick said, actually, we don't have the money. And we're like, oh, you don't have the money. And then Fox is like, well, if they don't have the money, we're not releasing it. So the whole house of cards collapsed yet again. Oh my! But I had this trailer, and now I had this trailer that I could march around town with and say, we're making this. Here's the script. Here's the trailer. And for whatever it's worth, and I'll tie it up with a story that's going on currently. That's what did it. That turned it around completely. And is having a finished trailer.
Is that trailer out somewhere? Because it's
on YouTube. Yeah.
We'll put that trailer up there. We're gonna pause if you're watching on video.
It's a Gravedancers director's cut, I think.
Awesome.
I believe, or whatever. So sweet. It's on the DVD and everything. But yeah, we got a smaller company called Code Entertainment. Code Entertainment wanted that Fox deal as well. So the hope was Maverick wanted us to get with Code. They would still close their money. Code would front the money. Maverick would then pay it and Fox would release it. Of course, Maverick never got their money. Code said, well, if they're not putting up $15 million, we're not either. So and we're like, oh my God. And then they're like, tell you what, we'll put up $2 million and you can make your movie. At that time, we've been developing the fucking thing for 6 years. I'm like, $2 million, go fucking make the movie. And we did, and came out through 8 Films to Die For and Lionsgate or whatever. So I will call it a success story at the end, but Jesus Christ, I mean, that was...
What is it, 2 films at Sundance? Killers
and Combat were made. Yeah. And then Big Ass Spider at South by Southwest. And, I've been always fortunate to have like a good premiere. And that's a big part of my filmmaking.
And that's what kills me so much is that theater experience. Like, I think that some of my favorite moments have been in theaters the first time a movie is shown. Like, I remember I was in Pan's Labyrinth at Toronto, Tip, and sitting in that theater watching, there's something so different. And now we live in this digital age. Everything is streamed. Everything is, you lose that thing about being, I've never done the film festival. A Fantastic Fest for Repo. And then every day we're doing a film festival now. Fantastic Fest with Repo and Fantastic Fest was Tales of Halloween and Mother's Day, but they were only one because they all distributors. So most of the time you're fighting because the distributor wants to be able to control the release strategy.
Right.
So I don't know. I've always wanted that experience.
I remember seeing You're Next, at South by Southwest, and it just blew the roof off. I mean, yes, I didn't see it when it came out, when it was released, but I just can't imagine that the reaction was as good as it was at that South by Southwest Festival, because it was just electric, and it was just like, oh my God, this is amazing, and the movie's really good. So, but there's something about that first time, you're discovering a movie with an audience that is just so much fun.
Part of the thing about this podcast is I just want to tell crazy stories that I just haven't had a chance. No one will listen to me. My wife, when I try to talk, literally I've always had a story 12 times. I know, or at the very end, I'll realize she had AirPods in the entire time, or she'll put AirPods in as I'm telling her the story. Oh my God. Keep going there. The one that to me, which was the craziest, was Death of Me. I'm in Thailand and I'm sent there by myself. And I've never been to Thailand before. And we're on a bus doing a location scout, and there's like 30 people on this bus. And it's hot as motherfucker. I mean, it is so fucking hot that I can't even tell you. Here's the best part about this is I'm wearing shorts and a short sleeve shirt. And we're out walking around and everyone's wearing long sleeve pants and long sleeve shirts. And why is because fucking dengue fever. These fucking mosquitoes are the size of fucking bat. So I'm hot. I'm angry. And I see the only other Westerner at the top of the bus gets a phone call, and I hear him and I can see him. He's like, shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. And he tells the bus driver to pull over, and the bus driver pulls over and he goes, Bousman. And he calls me to the front, and we go out the side of the bus. And he tells me we just lost financing. Oh. And so I'm on the outskirts of Bangkok. We just lost financing. And I was like, what the fuck do you mean we lost financing? And he's like, dude, we're going to figure it out. And I'm like, I'm in fucking Thailand. What do you mean you're going to figure it out? And he goes, give me 5 minutes. And this true story, he walks away and I see him on the phone and he comes back over and he goes, I got us. And he goes to the bus driver and he whispers something to the bus driver nods. And we start driving and we're driving and we're driving. Now, everyone in the bus is starting to get, where are we going? We're not doing the location scouts. We end up at a gate and there's a guy with a gun at the gate. This is the gate opens up and we drive up the most beautiful palatial thing. And there's another guy with a gun. And he goes, just Darren, to this Westerner. And I get out and I was like, what the fuck? And he's like, be respectful, be nice. And I was like, this guy could make our problems go away. And I get taken out of the bus. I hope I can tell the story. I get taken out of the bus and there's a gazebo and it's beautiful and it's overlooking beautiful water. And I sit there and this man comes out, and the man was very grandfatherly looking. He had a big hat on, like a big sun hat on. And he sits down and he goes, tea, lemonade? There's sort. And as I see him sit down, there's two other guys with guns behind him. And he goes, so tell me your story. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, the story, and I'm telling it to him and he's drinking his lemonade. I'm not drinking shit. All right, I'm drinking the lemonade. And he goes, interesting. We'll let you know. And then we were escorted out, get back on the bus and drive back into Bangkok.
Wow.
And I was like, I'm going to die. I am pitching the cartel. I am going to fucking die. He didn't end up financing the movie. We found money elsewhere. And again, same thing. The budget cut down by half. So I think it went out to death. I mean, it was like $5 million. And by the time we made it, it was $2 million.
I always think I find money on the fringe, but you take it to another level of finding money on the orbit.
I've had the porn industry, the mafia, the cartel, you name it, the Saudis, you name it. I've had them finance my films.
That's amazing. I mean, that's the thing. It's like I have lots of fringy little weird producers, but I don't have the Saudis or some shit like that. You know,
what are you doing now? So you're because again, I take this as a compliment, not as an insult, but you're kind of like a cockroach, like I am. I always see that you're popping up with something else. So what is the thing you're doing there?
Besides Beavis and Butt-Head work, this is a bit of an open secret, so I'd not officially announced this. So this is actually, I guess, the first place I'm semi-announcing it here, but I'm still not going to make a big thing about it here. Of course. But if anyone who follows me on social media may have noticed, I've been spending a lot of time with the actor Bruce Dern. And that's because I'm making a documentary about his life.
Oh my God, that is amazing.
Yeah, that's been a really...
They go to IHOP. I'm so jealous. Like they go to IHOP and have a ham cake
every month. Yeah. For the last 5 years, we've now been over. What is it? If it's 12 times, yeah. And
how did you meet him?
We've done like 70 of them at this point or something. How did I meet him? I got another story I shouldn't tell, but all right, I'll tell a very basic one. I got asked to make this movie in Miami, and the movie didn't quite work out, but Bruce was attached to it. And when I was meeting with Bruce, we talked about the movie, and that was all very uninteresting, or it just wasn't quite flowing quite right. And then he talked just about his life, about working with John Wayne, working with Alfred Hitchcock, working with Quentin Tarantino, and I was just like, I think we're talking. I think this is this is the more interesting movie than the other thing we're talking about. So when we got back, he lives in Pasadena and I live in Pasadena. He had an IHOP hat on, and I love pancakes. So I said, "Hey man, can I take you to Pancakes and you can finish those stories. And so I did, and I don't even remember doing it, but certainly by the second breakfast, I was kind of like, can I record this? This is amazing. All these stories are amazing because he's never had a drink. He's never had a cigarette. He's never done any drugs. His memory is perfect. He is this grand storyteller. He's worked with everybody, and he has so many tales to tell. So it started off that we, started shooting. We shot 8 days with him. We had a friend who had a soundstage that no longer is with us, Wolfpack Studios. Oh yeah, these. So we shot it at Wolfpack, 8 days, and then it just became kind of this natural snowball that is still continuing. That it was kind of like, all right, well, I'm friends with Joe Dante, and Joe Dante did The Burbs. Let's see if we can get him to come down. Yeah. So Joe Dante came down. I'm like, all right, well, now we got Joe Dante and Bruce Dern. Like, I bet his daughter would do it, So I reached out to Laura. It took a while, but Laura did. She had a great time, and I was like, do you think, you're close to Alexander Payne. Do you think Alexander Payne would do it? She's like, absolutely. So she texted Alexander Payne. Alexander Payne did. And so then I also got Walter Hill, because I'm a huge Walter Hill fan, of course, and part of the joy of making these things is meeting your heroes. And I had one big one that I was really hoping for, which was Mr. Quentin Tarantino. And I had a lovely time spending the afternoon at his house talking all things Bruce Dern. That was great. I have a few more up my sleeve that are coming that are still on equal level. Yeah. But that's about it. And so that it has been snowballing, and I got a lot of because my dream is to sell it to like HBO or something like that. And, the initial reaction was kind of like, yeah, but Bruce Dern isn't Marlon Brando. He isn't Elizabeth Taylor. He's not quite at that level. But I've still determined, I'm like, but his story is amazing, and he's got amazing people that want to talk about him. So I did the same thing that I did for Gravedancers. I made a trailer. That's great. And this movie that people, and I had a very interesting experience. Everyone loved the idea, and everyone wanted to help. And by help means they wanted to put their name by it and stand by the poster or something. They wanted to pose with it, is what it felt. No one would actually do anything. And so, and no one would give me money or anything like that. So I'd done it all out of pocket up to this point. And then finally we finished a trailer, and I'd say within about 3 days, people were giving me money, like large checks. That's huge. Money, like just like that. Yeah. There's just a night and day difference.
You want to pause because this is a filmmaking podcast. And I think the thing that I've learned where I find the most success is people are so, no one is going to know what's in your head. And I think that if you can put something in front of someone that's visual, a 30-second trailer, a 60-second animatic thing, to me, you immediately get quicker yeses of people looking than if you give them a 90-page script or you try to. So I found in my success that I've actually sold pitches. The first big sale that I had as a writer was a thing called the bystander effect. And I'll put the trailer up here right now. I made a 90-second trailer, and it was no live action. It was all stuff on After Effects and stuff I pulled from YouTube. And it sold a concept in 90 seconds. So where people wouldn't take meetings with me, they would take a 90-second review of something. We started getting calls and being like, yeah, now we'll talk to them. And we ended up selling that just on that 90-second little trailer, and you'll see it. There's nothing in it. Same thing happened with Abattoir. Abattoir, I shot his 60-second trailer. I'll put this up as well with Dayton Kelly. I knew I wanted Dayton to be the guy. And so we went and shot a 60-second trailer, and we used that, and we got financing for it. James Wan did that with the Saw film.
I think that makes all the difference. I really do. I mean, that has been absolutely the biggest game changer for any time I'm trying to raise money is when I have a trailer. Now, there's a movie that is like a $10 million movie that I'm trying to get made that I made an AI trailer for. It's not quite the same. Although the AI is getting a lot better. But this was just a previs kind of thing to get the concept. And people love the trailer, but I don't know if it's because $10 million, I've not really gotten the traction that I have, say, on the Bruce Dern one, which is a lot less than $10 million, a documentary. So it was very easy, again, the more you have complete, the Bruce Dern one, it was a 6-minute trailer, so it was very obvious. I was like, this is a complete movie. This is a complete thought. You can get into it. And again, we're looking for investments like $50,000, $100,000. Those are a little easier to get than, I'll give you $2 million, So
I think, Josh, for our thing that we're doing, I think having visual elements, and also I think thinking outside of the box, when we go into pitch, I'm doing pitches right now with Netflix. And first off, to get a date for the pitch, months out.
Right.
Like, it'll be like, yeah, we can meet with you December 7th at 2 p.m. and you'll have 8 minutes. Or it is so hard.
Is this see how far we've come from when if you remember the South Park episode where they show Netflix headquarters and it's just people answering the phone like, "Hello, Netflix, you're greenlit."
Yeah.
"Hello, Netflix, you're greenlit." "Here, please, here, please."
No, it is not that way. And I would say that I find the most luck that I've ever had about thinking outside of the box. And when I pitch something, it is completely different, because I think that so many executives hear pitches day after day after day. They're scheduled in 15-minute blocks. You have 15 minutes, to do something, first off, that is completely out of the ordinary, whether that is we've shot something, whether that is the way that we presented. I sold something with Scott Mylan. Scott Mylan was on episode 3. He wrote Mother's Day. He's written a couple other films that I absolutely love. We sold a pitch called 90, and this is literally how we sold it. It was so, this sounds ridiculous, and I wish someone was filming us. We go into a room, and I had a giant ghetto blaster. Remember this from the 80s? It had detachable speakers on it. It had 2 cassette players, and I had Ice Cube's Wicked. Its song goes 1, 2, 3, and I come with the wicked. So Scott started pitching it. And so the guys are there, and I could see them zone. We knew this when we were going to do it, and we saw them start to zone out. So Scott's pitching this idea, and the pitch is very simple. 90 kills in 90 minutes. That's what it is. It's a serial killer that kills 90 people in 90 minutes of the film. He's pitching it. I can see the guy, Chris Malick was his name, starting to zone out. And then I push Scott aside, push play, 1, 2, 3, and I come with a win. And then I was like, okay, we're going to wrap up. And I get in his face, and I'm doing this, and it's loud, and his assistant's looking in, and I see he starts to smile. I see him start to smile, and I see the woman starting to smile, and then I see Scott Mylan's like head bopping, and then this bald guy's head bopping, and I'm like in his face, and I remember it ends, and it's silent, and he reaches over to his phone. Adam Levine, that's my agent. We'll take it. And he bought it in the room, and I realize that it's like you have to shock the person back to reality, because I think it's a business now. It is a factory. It's a sausage factory.
Have you heard how the Final Destination?
I told Lloyd that's when we saw it, that they actually did the thing on the pitch session, right? I heard something.
Yeah.
Did you hear this? No.
So basically, the Final Destination writers, when they were pitching the thing, and it was a Zoom meeting, I think I forget exactly what they did, but they had like a moment where like, oh, I'm getting a technical difficulty, like, hold on. And they switched to like a pre-made video. And then, so now the pre-made video's on, but the executives don't know it. And they're like, okay, so anyway, the pitch is basically, we're kind of starting off there, and then like a fire starts off behind them. And then they go, hey, the executives or something's behind you. And they're like, what? No, it's fine. We're in the pitch. And then pretty soon the fire gets out. And they're like, oh my God, that they killed. And the executives are like, what the fuck? And so they actually did a little scene in the Zoom meeting. And then they were like, yes, you guys are eager to.
So class, I want to do that when we go in and pitch. And I want it really quick, because I don't know if Mike knows these. Mike, there's 2 ideas that right now, and there might be another one that we come up with. We want to do something, and the one that we've garnered from all the people we've talked to is, and you kind of mentioned it, I want to write small. I want to write to things that I know I can pull off, and people that I know I can get.
Right.
So that's kind of the thing, is what do we know we can get? What do we think we can pull off? So Josh pitched 4 ideas, and this is the one that I like the best and the audience like the best. But inherently, I guarantee you're going to say the thing which I think is the downfall of it.
Yeah, but we won't bring that up yet.
No, so say it, and let's do what he said. Okay.
So I'll give you the 30-second opening and then the 60-second idea. 30-second opening, we're in Times Square. Plate glass window breaks open, and a woman falls out, and 2 seconds later another woman jumps out. She's holding a chainsaw. She starts running after this woman who's like stumbling around trying to get away, goes down a side alleyway. She's standing over the woman and just goes to town on her body.
Okay.
Blood, guts, everything, chainsaw spinning. Cops come pulling up, guns blazing. Get on the ground, get on the ground. And the woman pulls a piece of paper out of her jacket and says, I've got the privilege, I've got the privilege. And she holds it up so they can see it. And all the cops say, okay, drop your guns. They go, they take a look at the document, and they say, she's got the privilege. Everybody can go about their business, and she gets to walk away. And what we find out is that the United States, they give out 1,000 of these documents.
Okay.
They are done by lottery, and you get a document in the mail, and it gives you one opportunity for carte blanche total immunity, kill anybody you want.
Okay.
It's basically a license to kill for one person. When you've used that document, it goes back into the system, it's put back into the lottery and sent out to the world.
No one knows who has it. And they can be bought or traded, right?
I'm guessing the comment you get most often is that it's a personal purge.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So on camera, he pitched it and to some other writer friends of his. And the first thing that we heard was, it very much is the Purge. Now, that said, I think the Purge, in my opinion, is much bigger, and this is a much more personal, individualized thing. So but it feels to me like we're going to get compared to the Purge no matter what we do.
Sure.
Because it is. It feels like
You're got free to do whatever you want.
and that's exactly.
I think concept.
Yeah.
So that is one of them we're looking at. The other one is something that it's going to take me a little longer to pitch it, but I think you'll get the idea. I don't have a big opening hook like he does. He's got a great chainsaw death. Mine's much smaller. Derek Mears in a gym. And late at night, he's got headphones on, and we just see him montage, lifting, pull up. Cut to him driving home, and he collapses on his couch, and you see an overnight bag. And you see you can see he's kind of depressed, he's whatever, and you see a bunch of headshots next to him, and he kind of looks at them and regards them. Cut to Tobin Bell, and he is in a black SUV, and they're driving. Mr. Bell, we've arrived, Delta, and he says, "Thank you." And Tobin says, "Thank you." And then the door opens up. Cut to Bill Moseley in line of a Starbucks. And he doesn't have enough money, and he pulls out the money, and his card declined. He goes through his change and puts change up there, gets his coffee. Cut to Kane Hodder is at the airport thing. A little kid runs over to him, asks for his autograph. Kane's very sweet, very nice, gives the kid the autograph. Hard cut to planes boarding, and you see them all kind of getting on. You have one of them in first class. Maybe Tobin's in first class. Bill Moseley's in the back plane. They nod at each other. Very serious. No jokey, no fun. Cut to arriving at the small, idealistic New England town. Set in fall. Leaves are turning. Halloween's getting close. And you see they arrive and they check in. I'm Bill Moseley. I'm Kane Hodder. I'm Adrian Barbeau. They're all checking into this hotel. Cut to the next morning, convention lights turn on, June, tables, hard cut to headshots being put down, Kane Hodder, autograph, $10, blah, blah, blah. Robert Englund, only Saturday only. You can see as they're getting ready how they are kind of depressed, embarrassed. You see them regard Robert Englund kind of with disdain. And here's the premise. It is Three Amigos meets Expendables.
Okay.
Where you take the iconic killers and bad guys from Hollywood at a convention that they've been called there. And when the convention starts, it's terrible. No one shows up. There's like 4 people walking around. There might be a line for Robert Englund that isn't there yet. And you realize that there is an ancient evil in this town. And like Three Amigos, they've faked this festival to bring the most badass 4 icons in to take over and defeat this ancient evil. So now these
Bruce Campbell in this.
What's that? Bruce Campbell might end up taking the place of Robert Englund, but here's the greatest.
As you wouldn't call Robert Englund to fight the evil entity, but you would.
I agree. But imagine this. Imagine whoever the big name is, Bruce Campbell, he's the first to die, and he dies like a bitch. Yeah, so they have to become the people they played for all these years to try to defeat this ancient evil. And so you put the who's who of the horror world together as themselves, trying to be the people they portrayed for the last 40 years. So I love its story. That's all I got so far.
Right. But and we don't even know if it's ancient evil or not. Like, it could be a lot of different things. But
go ahead. I think it's great, and I don't want this to burst your bubble in any way and be discouraging. I have heard that storyline a few times, and people have written specs, but it's never gotten made, so it doesn't matter.
Well, we're gonna make it. We'll be there.
There's one to make it. So I definitely heard people pitch that, and I've even had like my own version of that I think is great because as we know, those conventions. Yes, exactly. Those conventions are their own weird thing that we don't really see the behind the scenes of how mundane it is, which is kind of interesting. And kind of like
it's the wrestler. I mean, like if you look at the wrestler with Mickey Rourke, or you take these people that on screen are at a time in their lives are these they are the monsters we grew up with. They're the things, but they're not. They're real people. They're humans. They have bills to pay. They have bad knees. They have limps. They whatever. And I think that putting them in a situation where they have to become these people,
Right.
and you can literally, like Cabin in the Woods is always the movie I always reference to people that I love, is when I saw the trailer for Cabin in the Woods and I heard about it, I thought I knew what that movie was going to be. I was like, oh, it's going to be Evil Dead. It's going to be kids going to a cabin, and it circumvents every cliche by addressing it and going to a different direction.
Yeah.
I would love to do that with this, where you take everything you think you know about this type of world, and I think you also have great in-jokes.
No, it sounds fun and it's doable. I will say, and again, not that it's the same thing at all. I made a silly sci-fi channel movie called La Balancha with Steve Guttenberg in the cast. It is a similar themed thing that he plays. He was playing Bruce Willis, basically. He's, an out-of-work actor or whatever, and then the city goes on fire and he has to rise to the occasion to become his ultimate character, which is a thing called the Red Rocket, which is like the Rocketeer, to save the city. Now, the fun part of this was that, yes, it was a silly movie in the Class Police Academy. This isn't a great movie, no, but it's got some fun moments. But when the fires happened, who was out in Malibu saving the goats? Yes. And I was like, this is exactly like La Balancha. This is crazy that this movie actually kind of set him up for this moment.
One of my writing partners saw the episode and called me immediately and brought up this idea, which I love, which adds a layer of complexity and depth and emotion to the story, which is thematically, it's about these older actors and actresses who were big at one point and their star has fallen, and they're coming to this place to find that feeling of love again.
The Nazi quest thing.
And then over the course of the film, they themselves become the heroes, not the characters.
And Galaxy Quest has a weird effect on me. It's a movie that makes me cry. I cannot explain it, but Galaxy makes me cry because it's such a, for what you're talking about, it's such a fan wish fulfillment. Yeah. So the idea that a spaceship lands in Comic-Con and then it comes out and all the fans are like, I love that. So, I encourage this.
And we're still looking for what that idea is, but I think that what we want to do is by the end of season 1 of this podcast, we want to know what that film is, because we want to end by pitching it. And it's just got to be something that, again, I want to see. And I think that I would love to see the Horror Expendables. And I think that I know you are right. I've heard that idea thrown around, like what the Horror Expendables, but do it in such a fun, crazy, cool, loving way as well. And I think that
I think you get a ton of cameos because, anybody that is at Hollywood poster show or convention, I think would be stoked to be it. I mean, Barry.
Delightful. Doug Bradley is a perfect example for me. Is I Hellbound Heart is one of my favorite novellas, and then the first few Hellraisers. I mean, I was attached to Hellraiser with David Goyer for a while. I fucking Clive Barker and I came up with the take. I fucking love Hellraiser, and then you see Doug Bradley, and Doug Bradley's this little guy with a little pot belly. And he's so cute and nice. And I'm like, dude, that guy would fuck. I want to put him in it. Or isn't that where everybody's proper British man? And
I love it.
Met Doug Bradley once. I don't even know if this counts as meeting him. I was in Cherry Hill, New Jersey at Monster Mania. And George Romero was having a small little party in his room. And I was taking a piss in the bathroom, and the bathtub was filled with beer and the thing. And so I'm taking a piss, and then Doug Bradley, who I've never met before or after, just comes in. It's the only time I've ever seen Pinhead. Excuse me, grabs a beer and walks out. And that's the man. So I love it. My Pinhead.
Mike, thank you for coming. Thank you for being part of this. We will keep you up to date on what we're going to say to this movie.
Yeah. Thank you, man. Really nice meeting you.
Likewise. It is 11 o'clock or maybe noon now, and I'm drunk. All right. What are you going to do? All right. What are you going to do? It's a good day.
That's a wrap on today's episode. Please give the show a follow. And if you could leave a rating or a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, each post helps us reach more listeners like you. Another way to support us is to join the crew at djmakeamovie.com. We'd love to hear from you. Follow and join the conversation at DJ Make a Movie on all social platforms. Let's make a movie together.
Darren and Josh Make a Movie, Season 1. Hosted by Darren Bousman and Josh Stolberg. Produced by Addison Marshall. Email the team at djmakeamovie@gmail.com. To watch on video and enjoy all the visuals you may have missed listening to the audio version of the show, subscribe to the Darren and Josh Make a Movie YouTube channel. Thank you for joining.
that, Casper. That's a wrap.